Pronominal suffixes on feminine singular nouns. Well, these are really easy because they use the same endings as the masculine singular nouns. No difference there. The one thing we have to note here is that the base form of the noun changes a little bit, but the change is predictable and the change makes sense. So we have our noun, remember, and we have our ending, the pronominal suffix. What I'm talking about here is this is the same. This doesn't change as we move from masculine to feminine in the singular. Use the same set. But the change is here. There is a change to the noun base. And basically what's happening is it's using the construct form. So if we have a noun that ends in a, that's when we see the change. So Torah, for instance, let's make this look like a resh. Torah is a feminine noun that ends in a, which many do. If it doesn't end in a, then you have no change, so there's nothing to worry about there. But if it ends in a, it will go to either, you either have torat. If you look at that, that's just a construct. This is the construct of that. If you go back to your construct chart or module, or it goes to this. So one or the other. What's happening here is that this is lengthening, and we'll see why in a moment. Now, if you remember our chart on nouns, we had masculine singular, we had feminine singular, and then the plurals. I said that there was a construct form for this one and this one. For the feminine, this was at. And for the masculine plural, and that was a, remember that? But that these two had no construct form. They just used the form that was already there. This one, because sus had no endings, so there was nothing to reduce, just stayed sus. And this one, because ot, which is the feminine plural ending, has a mater, and you can't reduce that. So it just uses that. So what we're talking about here is that on the feminine singular ones, we're using this form, the construct form. And really, if you think about it, we could be using the construct form in the masculine singular as well. It's just we can't tell because there's no difference. But it makes sense that you would use a construct-like form. You're adding something to this. You want to shorten it. When you have a construct and an absolute, you're effectively adding something because you treat it as a bound unit, one word, stress shifts. And so you're going to shorten this. You add something here, pronominal suffix, you want to shorten this. It uses the same form. It makes sense. Okay, let's look at this. I've got some charts here. So here we go with Torah. So notice Torah has changed to Torat, right? Now this one has the long A. We go down here, Torat Hem. This one, this is the construct form. And I should go to another one here. It's a better slide. So here I've highlighted the changes to the feminine form, to the feminine noun, the base. So here we have the construct form, Torat, Torat, and in the rest of them we have the long A, the comments. Everything else is the same, but it's lengthened. And why is that? Well, the reason has to do with syllables. If you remember back early on, I talked about syllables and what types of vowels can exist in them. And we said that CV, an open syllable, has to have a long vowel. CV unstressed. And CVC unstressed has a short vowel. You can go back to that module on syllables if you've forgotten this. Syllables that are stressed, we don't know. They can go either way, long or short vowels. But if they're unstressed, we can say something about them. And it seems to be sort of like a conservation of length or something like that, where it's the short syllable that has a long vowel, and it's the long syllable that has a short vowel. Kind of evens them out. Well, here we have, let me change colors here just briefly. Here we have to, there's a syllable here, to, rat, chem. So this is CVC, it's closed syllable. CVC closed, it's going to have a short vowel. So it's going to stay, that's fine. But if you look at a verb like this, or a word like this, we have to, that's our first syllable, ra, toratan, toratan. So this is CV. It's an open syllable. And it's unstressed. Stress is at the end of the word. So it's long. So it has to lengthen. This has to lengthen because these are all in open syllables. That's what's going on. So it's the construct form where that vowel ends up in an open syllable because of the ending. The ending steals the last consonant, and then it has to lengthen. Even this one here, notice the method. This is to, ra, te, ha. So this one stays open too. So that's what's going on there, and you can compare it here to the, you compare the feminine, that's the brightly colored ones here, to the masculine singular. And you'll notice the endings are the same. O, a, ha, eich. Okay, we have the a there. Remember, that's important. Eich. E, drop the hey, an, drop the hey. Chem, chen, enu. Again, that eich there. Same here. So, that's not too bad. Just use the construct form to put your endings on. Use the same endings as masculine singular. Propedonic reduction, again, the very same thing that we saw before. Let's just do an example here on the feminine. Nothing new. We have Torah. Torah goes to Torato. We can't reduce this because it's a mater. No propedonic reduction in Torah. But if we have a kametz there, so safa, which means lip, then we can get sifato. So this went to a tav, just like we would expect, and we have propedonic reduction here because sifato. When you add the ending, this ends up in the propedonic position, and it would have had a kametz there, which then reduces. Now, this is a two-syllable word. Safa is two syllables, right? In its base form, before we add this. What happens if you have a three-syllable word? See, if you have an extra syllable here, this will be the protonic position, right? Let me give you an example here. Tzedakah means righteousness. What we had before was safa. I think I spelled that right. Not much to make a mistake on. So if this one is safa, just two words. If you add an ending on here to make this propretonic, this will be the propretonic place right here. This one, tzedakah, already has three syllables to begin with. If you add an ending, this changes to a tav, and you add an ending here, o or something, then you'll end up with four syllables. So this will be the propretonic position. So okay, it reduces as we expect. We get a tzede there, or a shava. But we also have a shava here. So if we have two shavas at the beginning, we apply the rule of shava, and this will go to what? Remember that. First one becomes a hiddic, the second one goes silent. And in fact, that's what we see. So let me demonstrate that. So tzedakah, we add o, we get, this is an intermediate form, it doesn't exist. I'm just drawing the steps here, okay? So tzedakah becomes tzedekato, or it would be something like that, which then by rule of shava becomes tzedkato. Tzedakah becomes tzedkato, tzedkato. So the rule of shava brings it down to this. This is really what's happening. You're going from this to this. This is the intermediate step. Okay, again, this is just something to be aware of. It's not something to memorize. You don't have to memorize this paradigm. All you have to know really is that with feminine singular nouns, you use the same endings as you do with the masculine singular, but you do it on the feminine construct. So if the word ends in a, it'll go like this one. It'll go to at, and this vowel will depend on the syllables, whether they're open or closed.